If healthcare marketing were a reality TV show, what would it be called and who would the characters be?
How about The Bachelor or The Bachelorette?
That's digital front door trailblazer Adrienne Woods. And this is People of Healthcare Marketing, the show where I sit down with healthcare marketers to find out what it's really like to run a marathon in their shoes with ankle weights and mandatory checkpoints. That means no shop talk, just real talk about the life behind the job.
All right. First, Adrienne, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
You just walked in the room and I was like, yes, this is going to be awesome. So this is People of Healthcare. And as I've told you, it's about I want to know what it's like to be in your shoes. And to do that, I need to start with how you found yourself here, because no little kid dreams of growing up to be a healthcare marketer.
Maybe some do.
So how did you find yourself here? What's the journey that, led you literally to sit in that chair right now?
Well, that's a great question. I don't know if I've ever been asked it quite like that. So I loved health and exercise science, and that's what I went to school for, undergrad. And I went to Wake Forest and had great teachers who said it's a great degree, but you need to go on grad school, or PT, lots of different things. And I picked public health because it was broad and I knew I wanted to stay with health. Went into health promotion and then went into healthcare as my first job outside of grad school. And I was a physician liaison with the healthcare system. And so that really, while I didn't want to be a healthcare marketer at 8, about 25 was a good time that I knew I did. Because in the physician world was something that I loved learning about, the experience of bringing the physicians together, primary care and specialists coming together to know one another, to make those referrals. And that face-to-face contact was huge for my, just my passion for healthcare. And that everyone's goal is to put the patients first. Mm-hmm. And what that means to each physician was very interesting to learn. So that's how I got into healthcare, and then that's when I knew I wanted to stay in healthcare. I never thought about going to another industry, because I loved the camaraderie of everyone, whether or not you're a clinician, patient-facing or not. Everyone knows the goal. It's a healthcare is one where everyone is for the same there for the same reason, which is for the patients.
What do people get wrong about your work?
I think that they think of it as marketing anything. It's a magazine, or it's a web page, or it's a that kind of thing. Just update the web page and more patients will come, that kind of thing. And so it's just looking at it as more of just a siloed approach, like one component, whereas marketing, especially digital marketing, it's the whole. You have to understand the whole thing. What's the goal? Mm-hmm. It's not just to get a consumer to click on a button that says find a doc. You've got to start the journey and go with them with the journey, understand the journey, and then also understand what the healthcare system wants to achieve. Is it another new patient for primary care, or are they looking for, someone that needs more shoulder surgeries? So it can be anything, but I think that the misunderstanding comes into, if you just update this content, then everything will work the way it needs to.
Push a button.
Yes, yeah, easy button.
Easy button, and whatever the goal is,
yes, will magically happen. Yeah.
If only, right?
If only.
What's fascinating about your path is, you've been in this industry for how many years now?
20.
20 years. And
over 20.
You're at even at this stage, you're at a party, like a neighborhood party, not an industry party. And people ask you, what do you do for a living?
Yeah.
How do you respond?
I think it depends. I think a lot of times it's just, I'm in healthcare or the digital side of healthcare. And they're like, well, what is that? I'm like, well, it's, it's the websites, it's the provider directory, find a doctor, things like that. And that usually, I leave it like that.
Have you ever had to explain to people how it actually works? Is your job relevant? What is it that you actually do? Don't people get sick and then just go to a doctor? What do they need marketing for?
A lot of people think what I do is really cool. When I say I'm in digital engagement, digital strategy for a healthcare system, they're like, that sounds exciting. I think that they like the idea of it. I think that as healthcare has become more of a topic of everyday, it's with the digital age and what people know and what you can learn so quickly. I think people know more about healthcare now than they did 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and I think that there's more interest in how it all works, like almost like how that sausage is made than there used to be. I think you're the point, like, don't you just go to the doctor? But I don't think people think that anymore. I think they know that it's a complicated process.
Anybody who's tried to look up their own symptoms and realize they're going to die from just having a stuffy nose knows it's,
or you really have a problem and they're like, we'll see you in 6 months. Or you go to the pharmacy and you think the medication is going to be $20 and it's $200 and no one can tell you why. Those kind of things. I think everyone has dealt with something like that. So the idea of healthcare marketing is something that people are actually more interested in and know more about than they did.
What does success actually look like for you? And how has that changed throughout your career?
Success in my work? Like to know that my work is...
I don't want to know what your freaking KPIs are or anything like that. I want to know how do you know holistically that, what does success look like for you when you get home at the end of the day and you had a good day? How do you know the difference between a good day and a bad day?
I think that the difference is, one, that my team, I think I'm very, because it's not healthcare marketing, healthcare, anything is a team. Like, you can't do any of it by yourself. And I think that when I come away from the day with stories from either my team or my colleagues about patients that found their way. There's been a couple slides this week at this conference where they talk about, so rarely, healthcare is like hospitality or anything else. Very rarely do you hear the good stuff. Like, it's all the complaints. And it's, if people 10 times more likely to say what they had a bad experience than when they had a good experience. And I think that when you see it, even just once a day, someone that had a great experience, in your mind, for every one, there's 50 others that have, but someone took the time to say it. And I think that's a good day. Knowing that the work that we're doing is helping a patient get the care they need. Or a caregiver, because one of the focuses I'm very engaged in now is that the caregiver, and a lot of caregivers, they're caring for parents and children at the same time. And what we as healthcare industry can do to make that caregiver's life easier is make the journeys of marketing and the content that they need available.
You just described me. I have to take care of my daughter, who's 3 years old, and I recently had to get added to my parents' my chart, so I can help them understand what's going on with their health, because they're not able to discern everything. And so to know that there's someone like you behind that, and who cares about it.
Yes, I think a lot of people care. And I think that we understand, sometimes if you're not in the industry, you're like, why are you making this so hard for me to care for my mom or my 20-year-old who won't get a doctor's appointment on their own? You think that, why are you making this hard? But our job is still to protect their privacy too. And I think that we don't want to make it hard, but we want to make it right.
Healthcare marketers run the same marathon as other marketers, except you do it with ankle weights and mandatory checkpoints.
Yes.
When you think about the guardrails and the things that you can't do, do you feel any jealousy to other marketers, or do you see it as a sense of pride that you have to do it in a way that protects privacy?
I think both. I think that part of it, I think a little bit of jealousy is a nice word, because you're like, I know who I need to reach and I want to reach that. Like, I want to get them what they need in order to help their health. But there's pride in knowing that the way we protect it is important, and it's what the patient wants. So consumers want their health care protected. They want to know it's safe with us. They want to know that they trust us to take care of that information and their health.
What does leadership sometimes misunderstand about marketing?
I think that leadership can misunderstand that when we need to become part of the conversation, like this, when strategic priorities are big goals, those, come from executive leadership. We understand them, we go do. But the goals where you're looking at, even new procedures and procedure volume and things like that, not KPIs per general, but bringing the marketing digital marketing into the conversation earlier to help you make the decision of what that goal should be. You tell me you want this many surgeries. Well, do we have enough patients that need that to help you reach your goal? We want to help you reach your goal, but we probably should be brought into the conversation a little earlier about what that goal should be sometimes.
Do you feel like you ever sometimes get burned out?
I think yes, there's just days of burnout where you're like, are we making a difference? Like, are we, especially, as things change and the path to healthcare changes, self-service, there comes times where I think the burnout comes when change is about to happen and you don't know exactly how to move the ship to do it. And it's going to be long, but it needs done. I think sometimes that can be daunting. But I think it's very quickly followed up with, well, we can do this. Like that's our role. That's why we choose healthcare. I think that to look at change and look at, advancements in technology the same way that we look at advancements in treatments.
Where do you see healthcare marketing in the next 5 years? And what's one thing in particular that you hope changes?
That's an interesting question. I think that one thing is, when I look at healthcare marketing, I look at the more, not so much personalization as customization. So looking at how, like I said, and we say it a lot, we need to meet the patient where they are or the consumer where they are. So we don't need to tell them what they need. We need to make it easy for them they determine what they need, however they do it. They'll use websites, now they use chat, they Google, all those things. But once they make the decision that I need this type of specialist near me, then our job is to provide that information in an accurate way and easy to find, and then make sure that they can actually get the appointment. So I think that that's looking at where that's going in a couple of years is that consumers will be able to do that journey and it will feel very personalized because of technology. And they might not ever have to come to our website or ever come to even our, they might just ask chat or, all these are my symptoms. This is what I need. Here's the closest to you. This is their ratings. This is what we know about them. All of those things. But to get that to happen, healthcare marketing has to continue to provide the accurate, up-to-date content. So I feel like, people say, well, will AI take away some of these roles? No, I don't think so at all. Our job will become even more important because that information has to be out there. We have to be the ones on the forefront providing it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand AI is not a magic wand or a button. It is an interface. 20 years ago, the only people who were using a search bar, a search field, were librarians.
Yes, I had not heard that before.
And so
that's fascinating.
When you think that.
Yeah, when you think that.
Little kids to grandmas are using search fields every day. That's just what AI is going to be.
Yeah.
It's just an interface. It's a way to...
It's just a tool.
It's just a tool.
Yeah.
What matters, what feeds the tool is what matters.
Yes.
And that's where you come in.
Yeah.
With that note, thinking about where things are today, where they were when you first started this, what advice would you give to someone who's getting into healthcare marketing today?
That's a great question. I would say, think of healthcare marketing like any other passion that you have. What's your why of being it? Because it is hard and it can be daunting and it can be, as you said, there's burnout, there's frustration and so forth. But I think that why do you want healthcare? And then what impact can you make? What your kind of passion is and how will that ultimately help care for the patient? Just the same way as a physician's passion for taking care of the patient. And I say that in terms of, I've got great people on my team that have a lot of great skills, and some of them had not been in healthcare before. And I wouldn't say that it necessarily was everyone's passion to get into healthcare, but seeing how you can bring your skill sets from other industries into healthcare, and then the impact you have is that you've ultimately helped a patient find the care that they need. That will, if you weren't passionate before about healthcare, you become passionate.
would you say it's almost like, I don't like the term like a drug, but
Drinking
like,
the Kool-Aid?
Drinking the Kool-Aid, like, is it drinking the Kool-Aid?
I think so.
Do you see that often, like where someone...
I see that often.
So you see it often. That's amazing.
And part of that, I think another way, you know, helping the patient, but also meeting with physicians, and you've helped them through technology, through marketing, grow their business, and they can take care of more patients, and they can get out there talking about the great work that they're doing, is also something unique in healthcare.
Give me an example of that. Like, how do you know when that has actually manifested, when your work has actually increased the, like, I don't know the right word besides the NPS score, but like...
So like if a physician would tell me, you know, if let's use cancer, for example, new diagnosis, and they got on Google and started trying to find a specialist for lymphoma. I'm making this up, you know, but a specialist for lymphoma. And they started a search. They were able to go to find a doctor. They read about the physician, understood the background, saw he went to school at a place that maybe because patients do pick physicians sometimes because of something they have in common. So like, you know, you have where they went to med school, things about them. We have care philosophy. So you really can learn a lot about that physician and feel like a connection in some way. I know that sounds weird, but you can. It's
almost like a dating site.
Yeah,
like,
I mean,
you have to know who they are, where they grew up.
And then they can call and they can make an appointment. They can get a MyChart set up. They can pre-register all the things. They can go in and have the experience that they need to have with that diagnosis rather than feel like they're jumping through hurdles.
That's awesome. Like that reward.
And we made the physician's life easier by doing that as well.
That makes me wonder, what's something in your career that you've accomplished that no one clapped for, but you're proud of?
Find a doctors. Like my boss would tell me that I've loved the provider directory world, online scheduling. It wasn't always online scheduling when I started. It was just providing accurate phone numbers for, you know, rather than, and you know, so 20 years ago it was phone number, can I actually make an appointment, or am I calling an office and they're going to transfer me to an appointment line to make an appointment, those kind of things. But because that's the front door to healthcare access. And so no one claps for that because it's never 100%. You cannot get the provider directory world, find a doctor 100%. So while no one claps for it, that's okay. I still love it.
That's awesome. So before we get close to wrapping up, I just want to ask like a few questions that I hope will be fun. If healthcare marketing were a reality TV show, what would it be called, and who would the characters be?
How about The Bachelor or The Bachelorette?
Okay.
Characters would be, you would have a patient as the Bachelor or the Bachelorette, and then the names of the hospital systems that are all wanting that patient to come check them out.
Awesome. All right, and the last one. What makes this work worth it?
I think, as we've said, obviously I'm very passionate about health and the patient's health. And good health is something that everybody wants. Everybody wants good health. I mean, and that's part, you know, we all want to strive to have good health for as long as possible. Everybody wants to stay as healthy as they can for as long as possible so they can do whatever they want in life. And so that's what my passion is every day thinking about how I can help. What I do does help keep people healthier.
And on that note, I'm going to let you go back to doing that. Thank you, Adrienne, for being here. Thank you for the
Ronnie, very much. It was great.
Hopefully everyone who's watching this, if you're in healthcare marketing,
yes,
you
find the passion.
Find the passion.
Yeah, drink the Kool-Aid.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
For Adrienne, drinking the Kool-Aid isn't surrender. It's recognition. Recognition in the moment of a healthcare marketer's career when purpose crystallizes amid regulations and campaign planning leads to patient care. And that's the unspoken truth here. Because behind every compliance checklist and cautious claim are people. People who believe in what medicine can do. people who found meaning in the margins. I'm your host, Ronnie Higgins, and this is People of Healthcare Marketing.